Welcome to the 17th Annual Middle School Battle of the Books. This year's competition began with 8 teams of middle school students from around the district. Several rounds of intense matches have led us to today's championship. Battle of the Books supports the literacy cog of the Norfolk Public Schools theory of action, which defines literacy as reading, writing, listening, speaking, and thinking critically. It also supports the 14.2 reading initiative, designed to encourage students to read at least 14.2 minutes per day. This year's middle school competition features the following books: Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger and Paul Dellinger, Garvey's Choice by Nikki Grimes, Ghost by Jason Reynolds, In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis, and The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick. The Middle School Battle of the Books is produced by Norfolk Public Schools Media Services Department under the leadership of Valerie Ford. And now, here's your host, Barbara Higgins.
Thanks and welcome again to the Middle School Championship for Battle of the Books. Our final features Azalea Garden Middle School versus the Academy for Discovery at Lakewood. Now, let's meet our teams.
Let's meet the team from Azalea Gardens Middle School. Denitza, team captain. She enjoys reading, playing with her dog, and going to the pool. Othra, she enjoys reading, swimming, and drawing. Halra, she enjoys drawing, swimming, and reading. Michaela, she enjoys reading, writing stories, and baking. Naomi, team alternate, she enjoys reading, writing, and playing field hockey. Azalea Gardens team is coached by Fonda Fairweather. And now, here's the team from the Academy for Discovery at Lakewood. Angel, team captain. She enjoys reading, singing, and all types of art. Julia, she enjoys riding her bike, reading, and shopping on Amazon. Devin, she enjoys soccer, reading, and future problem solving. Charity, she enjoys drawing, singing, and dancing. The Academy for Discovery at Lakewood's team is coached by Latoya Rivers.
Teams, we're ready for our first toss-up round. Each correct answer is worth 5 points. Here's the first question. Which book included Dunmore's proclamation?
Lakewood, Julia.
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
You're correct. Our next question. Which book was set partially in Tennessee?
Lakewood, Julia.
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
You're correct. Our next question. In which book were teachers constantly evaluated?
Lakewood, Julia.
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
You're correct. And our next question. Which book described a messy taxicab?
Azalea Gardens, Othra.
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
You're correct. Here's our next question. In which book did the protagonist hide behind a stalled pickup truck?
Time.
The correct answer is The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick. Here's our next question. Which book explained the 3/5 compromise?
Azalea Gardens, Denitza.
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
You're correct. And our next question. In which book were mulattoes described?
Azalea Gardens, Denitza.
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
Incorrect. Academy, can you take it?
Lakewood, Angel.
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
You're correct. Our next question. In which book was it more common to receive ocular implants than to wear glasses?
Azalea Gardens, Hara.
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
You are correct. Here's our next question. Which book's narrative was told in verse?
Lakewood, Julia.
Garvey's Choice by Nikki Grimes.
You are correct. And our next question. Which book described a grandmotherly avatar?
Lakewood, Charity.
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
You are correct. Next question. Which book described a perfect mistress of her needle?
Lakewood, Julia.
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
You are correct. Next question. In which book was the protagonist a tenor?
Azalea Gardens, Denitza.
Garvey's Choice by Nikki Grimes.
You are correct. Here's our next question. In which book was someone famous for exaggerated false factoids?
Azalea Gardens, Hara.
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
You are correct. Next question. Which book described a mean version of Abraham Lincoln?
Lakewood, Angel.
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
Incorrect. Azalea, can you take it?
Azalea Gardens, Denitza.
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
Incorrect. The correct answer is The Big Dark by Roderick Philbrick. Our next question. In which book did a character produce the North Star newspaper?
Azalea Gardens, Authra.
The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick.
Incorrect. Lakewood?
Lakewood, Julia.
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
That's the correct answer. Our next question. In which book were the characters learning about agricultural methods of the...
Lakewood, Charity.
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
You are correct. And our next question. Which book described stories as breadcrumbs?
Azalea Gardens, Denitza.
Garvey's Choice by Nikki Grimes.
You are correct. And our next question. Which book explained Technique Tuesdays?
Azalea Gardens, Denitza.
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
Incorrect, Azalea. Lakewood, can you take it?
Lakewood, Devon.
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
Ghost by Jason Reynolds is the correct answer. Next question. In which book did a parent have to monitor his or her blood sugar levels?
Lakewood, Julia.
The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick.
You're correct. The next question. In which book was the protagonist told he or she needed a little attitude adjustment by a school?
Lakewood, Charity.
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger is the correct answer, and that's the end of our first toss-up round. Stay tuned for our score and the directed question round. Welcome back to the Middle School Championship of Battle of the Books. Here's our score after round one. We have one substitution on the Azalea team. Naomi will be sitting in for Michaela. And up next is the directed question round. Only team captains will answer, and each correct answer is worth 5 points. We'll begin with Lakewood. In which book was someone known to be the first rags to riches story?
Can I answer now?
Yes,
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
you are correct. And Azalea, here's your question. In which book did a parent resent his or her child's interest in reading?
Garvey's Choice.
Garvey's Choice by Nikki Grimes.
You are correct. Lakewood, here's your question. In which book did the protagonist receive an "I told you so" look at home?
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
You are correct. And Azalea, here's your question. In which book was the antagonist accused of hoarding?
The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick.
You are correct. Lakewood, your question. In which book was the protagonist learning about Alexander the Great in social studies class?
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
You're correct. And Azalea, in which book was a valuable commodity stolen from the Moulton house?
The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick.
You are correct. Lakewood, in which book did a conjurer treat sick people?
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
You're correct. Azalea, in which book did the song Dance with My Father make the protagonist emotional?
Garbage Choice by Nikki Grimes.
You are correct. Lakewood, which book described an escape-proof room made of T polymer?
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
Fuzzy is the correct answer. Azalea, in which book did a second character love chipmunks?
This is the Big Dark. The Big Dark.
The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick.
Big Dark is the correct answer. Lakewood, here's your question. In which book did the protagonist's aunt have a tattoo that said, Sweetie Pie?
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
Ghost is the correct answer. Azalea, here's your question. In which book did someone denounce the 4th of July holiday?
The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick.
That's incorrect. Lakewood, can you take that?
Time.
The correct answer is In the Shadow of In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis. And here's our next question, Lakewood. Lakewood, in which book did a parent make origami?
Garbage Choice by Nikki Grimes.
Garvey's choice is correct. Azalea, in which book did the protagonist eat a lot of cafeteria food for dinner?
This is Ghost.
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
Ghost is the correct answer. Lakewood, in which book was the protagonist enlisted to assist with an RIP program?
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
Fuzzy is the correct answer. Azalea, which book described a horse named Chinkling?
It's in the Shadow of Liberty.
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
You are correct. And Lakewood, in which book did a secondary character drive the motivation mobile?
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
Ghost is the correct answer. Azalea, in which book did the protagonist struggle with climbing stairs?
Garbage Choice by Nikki Grimes.
Garvey's choice is correct. Lakewood, in which book did a character trip over his or her shoelaces?
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
Ghost is the correct answer. And Azalea, which book suggests that you research Richard Carrington?
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
That's incorrect. Lakewood, can you take that?
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
Also incorrect. The correct answer is The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick. And that's the end of our directed question round. When we return from break, we'll have our score and the final toss-up round. We're back with the Middle School Championship of Battle of the Books. Here's our score after round 2. Now, here's our last toss-up round. In which book did characters have illuminated desks?
Lakewood, Julia.
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
You're correct. Next question. In which book did someone inherit Fairy Farm?
Lakewood, Julia.
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
Shadow of Liberty, correct. Next question. In which book did the protagonist realize that his or her chocolate stash lasted longer?
Azalea Gardens, Denisa.
Garbage Choice by Nikki Grimes.
Garvey's choice is correct. Next question. In which book did most people have generators?
Azalea Garden.
The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick.
Big Dark is correct. Next question. In which book did some batteries last an average of 55?
Lakewood, Devon.
The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick.
Incorrect, and I'll read that entire question for Azalea. In which book did someone...
Azalea Gardens opera.
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
Fuzzy is the correct answer. Our next question. In which book did a character board a ship called the Savage?
Lakewood, Julia.
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
Shadow of Liberty is correct. Next question. In which book did a secondary character pretend to be someone's uncle?
Lakewood, Julia.
The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick.
That's incorrect. Azalea, can you take it?
Azalea Gardens, Denisa.
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
Ghost is the correct answer. Next question. In which book did the protagonist's mother cut his or her hair?
Lakewood, Julia.
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
Ghost is the correct answer. Next question. In which book did the protagonist practice scales?
Azalea Gardens opera.
Garvey's Choice by Nikki Grimes.
Garvey's choice is correct. Next question. In which book was it believed that bleeding a person would relieve...
Lakewood, Julia.
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
In the Shadow of Liberty is correct. Our next question. In which book did a character have a backup head?
Azalea Gardens, Naomi.
Fuzzy by Tom Engelberger.
Fuzzy is correct. Our next question. In which book was a character called a ghost because of his...
Azalea Gardens, Naomi.
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
Ghost by Jason Reynolds is correct. Next question. In which book did the protagonist leave a note so that his or her family...
Lakewood, Angel.
The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick.
Big Dark is correct. Our next question. In which book did the protagonist meet his or her best friend in first grade?
Azalea Gardens, Denisa.
Garvey's Choice by Nikki Grimes.
Garvey's choice is the correct answer. Next question. In which book which book described a man's deep grief from losing his wife?
Lakewood, Julia.
In the Shadow of Liberty by Kenneth C. Davis.
In the Shadow of Liberty is the correct answer. Our next question. In which book was the protagonist bullied for being poor?
Lakewood, Julia.
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
Ghost is correct. And our next question. Which book described the protagonist's plan to encourage a friend by shopping for a small...
Azalea Gardens, Denisa.
Garvey's Choice by Nikki Grimes.
Garvey's choice is the correct answer. Next question. Which book described a 50-mile trek in rough conditions?
Azalea Gardens, Hara.
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
Incorrect. Lakewood, can you take that?
Lakewood, Devon.
The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick.
The Big Dark is the correct answer. Our next question. Which book is the first in a series?
Azalea Gardens, Naomi.
Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
Ghost. Jason Reynolds is correct. Next question. In which book was venison a staple in people's...
Azalea Gardens, Naomi.
The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick.
The Big Dark by Rodman Philbrick is the correct answer. And that is the end of our directed question round. And it's also the end of our competition. When we return, we'll award the trophy to this year's middle school champions for Battle of the Books. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to the Middle School Championship for Battle of the Books. Here's our final score. Azalea Gardens, 125. Lakewood, 155. Presenting the trophy to the winning team is Dr. Melinda Boone, Superintendent of Norfolk Public Schools. And congratulations to the Academy for Discovery at Lakewood, the 2019 Middle School Battle of the Books champions.